I'm Dr. Jordin Wiggins, and this is the Pleasure Principles podcast. Join me on this journey where sex, science, and sensuality meet. Let's change the conversation around sex and pleasure together. In the beginning, it was easy. Have you ever noticed that intimacy in the beginning of a relationship was easy? Things just happened, seemed to flow. But in long-term relationships, it gets harder. There's been an unsettled feeling echoed by so many of my clients lately. So many of you reaching out in DMs. We have so much, and yet we have very little pleasure to show for it. And we do what any superwoman would do. We internalize, we blame ourselves, we work harder. We think, what is wrong with me? Why can't I just be happy? I have so much to feel grateful for. What do I need to do? If this is you and you are sick and tired of feeling unfulfilled in one way or another, maybe intimately, maybe at certain areas of your life, and you are ready to make pleasure a priority, I have some exciting news before we get into today's topic. If you've done all the things, the therapy, the coaching, the alternative health practitioners, and something is still missing, you're not as happy as you should be, this is exactly where I excel as the CEO of Your Health and Pleasure. I'm opening up 3 spots for my 3-month one-on-one coaching fall application. I'm doing this earlier because you have requested it, and it is probably the last time you're going to be able to work with me one-on-one this year. So do not wait. Fill out an application. We're going to put the link in the show notes. You will hear from me and my team within 72 hours if you do not check your spam folder. So I want you to fill out the application in as much detail as possible. And then you and I are going to get on a call to discuss that it is the right fit for both of us. It is not a good look. It is not in my pleasure to do things other than things that I am really excel at. And this needs to be a juicy decision for both of us. And I just want to point out a little note. I want you to fill out the application a little unsure, a little scared, a little bit like pleasure is hard to prioritize. It is like working out that area that you don't want to at the gym, but you know you need to, or even just doing physical activity. You know that you should, and after you feel so much better, but it is hard to do it. That is because the pleasure centers in your brain are turned off right now. So everyone doing work at this level feels some type of uneasiness before they work with me. Will my relationship survive this? Do I need to blow up my whole life? The answer is no, and the work is easier and more fun than you think. So if my work speaks to you and you are ready to make big changes for your pleasure, fill out an application today. So let's get into today's topic, and that is initiating. This is something that happens naturally in the beginning of a relationship. The neurochemicals are going crazy. There's dopamine, there's norepinephrine. Things are exciting. Everything is new. So much to explore and learn. And if there is a massive element of anxiety, it might be a trauma bond, our childhood wounds being activated, but that is for another episode. Actually, you know what? We will do it next episode. Will be about our childhood relationship scripts and how they affect intimacy for superwomen. If you're like me, you are great at a lot of things, and an area that you struggle is intimacy. So stay tuned for that. We all know that in that new relationship energy, sex is easier. It's not something that needs to be prioritized, it just happens. We want to be close to the other person. We think about them. We are discovering, exploring, things are new. Cut to today. All of those new attachment neurochemicals are gone. Oxytocin, the connection hormone, has taken over. Life has taken over. Priority has shifted away from sex and pleasure in most cases. A lot of us are attempting to do so much. We are in survival. We are achieving with pleasure being deprioritized and things in the relationship being swept under the rug. Resentments have built. There is disconnection in your relationship, which is not sexy. It's a greater hill to climb, to initiate, to be present, connect, feel pleasure, which, by the way, are the 3 ingredients to great sex and intimacy in a long-term relationship that I teach. Pleasure is something that needs to be prioritized and cultivated, especially in long-term relationship, especially if you have big dreams, goals, things to achieve, lives to save, people to help. And this is why the skills that make you a great superwoman, the overachieving, the people pleasing, make you pretty shit at intimacy and long-term relationships. And yes, Superwoman, I called you out. This is calling me out. This is my work. I don't do this because I was just naturally good at it. I had to take a good hard look after some failed relationships to be like, how am I so good at so many other things? And I really excel in other areas of life. And I really struggle at this one. So I see you, I am you, I get it. I've had a lot of requests in my DMs to talk about this. And I had an amazing discussion with the women in my 12-month program. We have a retreat coming up in September. I cannot wait to see everybody in person. It's going to be amazing. So, what are some problems with initiating? Why is this such a big topic that I get asked about so frequently? In fact, I did a girl talk episode back in the day, and it is still one of the highest listened to episodes. So, problems with initiating that I see. It becomes another item on the to-do list. Somebody has to put in effort. And we are already stretched thin. We are already over functioning. We have so much we want to accomplish in a day. It's like, oh, that's one more thing that I have to do. Another problem that I see usually ends up being one person that does the initiating, and it should be a team effort. And the person that is constantly doing the initiating becomes resentful. It feels one-sided. It's like anything in a relationship. If somebody is making all of the meals, if somebody is doing anyways, if somebody's doing more than their share, they eventually get resentful. And in situations with mismatched libidos, the higher desire partner who had done a lot of the initiating might get shut down so much that they check out, they shut down, they put that task on the lower desire partner. So it's like, well, you've said no so many times that now it's up to you. You come to me, which is very understandable from feeling rejected so often. But that's not the answer either, because then that low desire partner feels pressure in initiating. So, anyways, we're going to talk about this today. These are the problems, these are the issues. And yes, initiating to me feels masculine, linear. It feels like a to-do list item, work, which I don't really like it. It doesn't really make me feel juicy. So the way that I like to teach it is the concept of seduction. The root of the word seduction means to lead astray. Now, I don't know already, for those of you leaning in, you're my people. And I know there's some of you thinking like, ooh, Adam and Eve, The serpent entices them to eat the forbidden fruit and they are banished. Obviously, this is a summary and I am paraphrasing. I'm just trying to speak to the societal, religious, cultural conditioning that we have to fear seduction, to fear our sexuality, to fear what makes us whole beings and capable of having long-term, having intimacy and long-term relationship. And that whole fear of seduction, that fear of being led astray, this whole storyline makes us fear being banished, being thrown out of the tribe. So they're very real, very fundamental human fears that we need to work through if we want to have amazing sex, multiple orgasms, all the things. This is what I do. This is what I help women and couples do. A quick side note, I've been talking to more and more men, more partners of the women that I work with. And if they have low libido or low desire, some of the reasons why were really interesting. And it boiled down to they wanted to be seduced too. They don't want the initiation to be all on them. They are also stressed. They are also struggling with mental health issues. They might be a little slower to warm up than they once were. And a lot of their comments were things like, I would like her to I would like my partner to put in some effort to spice things up, to show that she wants me and she desires me. I think that there's this societal belief that's like, oh, men are so easy. I could just like flash my boob and he would be down. And while I think the male arousal pattern is a little bit simpler than women's in some ways, I do think that there's those masculine and feminine elements even in it for men. So that want to be shown love, appreciation, to feel desired, that goes both ways. And I think we're missing the mark on this. And we don't give men and their full embodied sexual experience enough credit. So let's not pigeonhole them. Let's not tell stories about men that are not true, because we know how damaging that has been for our sex and sexuality. Actually, I think this is a good one to listen to with your partner. Okay, and I do want to note there's a lot on seduction out there that is really like manipulation and is kind of gross. And if you are the kind-hearted, highly sensitive, empathetic people that I usually work with, and that is probably listening to this episode, those techniques are not going to work for you. We are not using seduction to manipulate people. That erodes trust. We are like giving to get, like giving a massage because you want to have sex, or saying I love you to hear it back. And that is just gross. It is yucky energy. And that's not at all what I'm talking about. So let's get into my version, Dr. Jordin's version of seduction, and how you can apply seduction to your relationships. And the way that I view seduction and teach it is seduction as an invitation or the desire to be drawn to possibility. I like it. I feel juicy just saying that. So picture this in reality. You're trying to finish some work emails, or you've finally sat on the couch watching Netflix at the end of a long day trying to unwind. There's not much possibility there. You know how the night's going to end. But if you were to look your partner in the eyes and linger, let your hand or lips linger. If you were to activate your pleasure channel, for those of you that work with me, you know what I'm talking about. You are now creating new possibility with seduction. It's exciting, it fosters connection, and we are inviting or creating the desire to be drawn into something new. And that is a great way to initiate. And here are my tips, Dr. Jordin's 5 tips for seduction, basically how to initiate in marriage or long-term relationship. Number one, build anticipation. In long-term relationship, we stop doing this, and that could look like sending a text throughout the day. Tell them what you want to do to them. Maybe leave a little mystery. Meet me in the bedroom at 8 p.m. Or maybe you're not an evening person. Maybe your adrenals are so messed up. Block your calendar off Sunday morning. You're all mine. Maybe something like that would work instead. Think back to the beginning of your relationship. What was the most exciting part about your intimacy? Try and recreate those elements and see what happens. Also, I would love some DMs and updates about how these work for you. Tip number 2, novelty. You need to switch things up. Our brains, it's just the way they work, habituate to stimulus and we start ignoring it. So something that was like a 10 out of 10 arousing for you 2 years ago or 5 years ago, it just will not be that arousing because you're not getting the same stimulus. So what worked a few years ago does not work today. This is no one's fault. This does not mean the relationship is failing. We just need to learn to mix things up. We need a couple more tools in the toolkit. So if you initiate by asking verbally, maybe put on some lingerie, maybe light some candles in the bedroom, grab their hand, lead the way. Maybe surprise them in the shower. This came up on my group call. We were chatting, like, how do you normally initiate? And super women, again, we are amazing at leading companies and running empires, but very blunt and very much like a one-trick pony in our initiation. So one of the things came up, do you want to make out? Another on my one-on-one call was like, do you want to be intimate? Or I can't remember the word she used, but it's basically just like bluntly asking. So we don't have to go crazy and insane and trigger our already overstressed nervous systems because that is going to shut our pleasure centers down more. But instead of saying, do you want to make out? Maybe say, I love the way your lips feel on mine. Just like a slight variation on what you were already doing can add novelty. Tip number 3, compliment. Complimenting is a great way to get the connection neurochemicals flowing. Flirting, appreciating your partner, their appearance, something that they do for you, the way they do something sexual to you will increase connection and get you out of the day-to-day rut. The art of flirting is something that I teach in my programs. We can add anticipation and compliment together. So like number 1 and number 3 together and say something like, babe, I appreciate everything you have been doing with regards to our vacation home. You've been really stepping up for us. I would love some time to connect. Can you meet me in the shower tonight? See this little combo. See, I'm a little tingly even saying that. This hypothetical situation. Number 4, attunement and connection. Where is your partner at? Do they have a lot on their plate? Is their stress at an all-time high and desire low? Remember, this does not have to be the same checkbox sex that you have been doing to get each other off. You could ask yourself, what am I available for right now? Maybe it's just cuddling naked and that's it, and you want to state that up front. What's my partner available for? It may have been a while, or you have an idea in your head for how an encounter should turn out. This is a big superwoman hang up, but we don't want to be rigid with these ideas and get stuck there. We want to connect and attune with what is going on in the moment, which brings me to point number 5, soften. This is a feminine practice that I teach. You've heard me talk about it on here before. If you've worked with me, you learn about it in detail. And when we are in our CEO, we are on, we are doing, we're rigid. It's very masculine. Nothing is wrong with this. Sometimes it's a turn on to be in this dominant energy, but a massive change up is to soften our physical bodies. Where do we feel tension? Breathe into it, release it. Soften emotionally, soften our expectations. And we can really make sex analogies for everything in life, I've realized. I think it's one of my gifts because it's hilarious. But a soft, receptive, inviting pussy is one that is ready to be penetrated. That is great sex, not one that is like rigid and uptight. I think that sort of speaks for itself, but soften. Everything needs to soften, especially if you are a superwoman. So I hope those 5 tips helped, and happy seducing. Have a great week, everybody. If you like what you heard in this episode, leave me a rating. Your support helps me get discovered by more women like you. Together, we can change the conversation around women's sexual health and pleasure for you, your partners, and generations to come.